You're live.
Hi, I'm Malcolm Nance, and welcome to Black Man Spy. Good morning, everybody. Once again, I am with you, along with out Jacob Carsbo, Danish intelligence officer extraordinaire, is out, probably living his best life, enjoying that time up there on the Jutland Peninsula, the top of Denmark, the mainland of Denmark, while we sit here, poor Wajeeh, the gay lion, and I have to sit here and deal with the mess that is the U.S.-Iran war now, or let me rephrase that, Iran 2.0, day 13/147. But based on what the President of the United States says, we are actually not in a war, we're in a skirmish. And if you haven't heard the news, this skirmish is so minor that the 4 service members who were killed in action are no longer killed in action in Operation Epic Fury. They have been taken off of the death rolls of service
That's a
members killed,
disgrace.
and the number has been reduced from 18 that it was yesterday back to 14 because Trump said, and I'm not joking, this is the ceasefire period and those deaths don't count towards the war, which is absolutely, somebody just said it, infuriating. Infuriating. These service members' deaths have been reduced so that Trump can say that he didn't have more losses than Joe Biden and that Barack Hussein Obama. I mean, this is crazy, but welcome to Crazy Town. We're all on this train and there's no getting off until there's some resolution. And based on everything we're seeing, there's not going to be a resolution of this war. We may be in this war this time next year. And funnily enough, I wrote a Substack back when the news was so modest, I could actually write a Substack because I find myself almost impossible to write an article anymore because every time I write something, it's been superseded by some news or what we call OBE, overtaken by events by the time I finish it. So I can knock out 1,500 words. You could start reading it and then find out that it's all freaking worthless. So it is, as somebody just said, that it's overpowered. So that's why we have this live show every day now for 147 days. I know that I've been there for 145 of them. Airplane connectivity was the only reason I wasn't on them before. Actually, that's not true. I was on the one when we were on the airplane and you guys were doing it, and I was jumping in and out. So 146 days I have attended this so that you don't have to break your brain over the craziness that's happening. And guess what? Craziness is happening. So with that, good morning, Wajeeh. Show me something
Good
happy.
morning.
Show me your Blue Genie coffee cup. That's what I call it.
But after what you just said, you want me to be happy? You can't
No, I
drop
just
that
said,
that I
show
need
me
to
your
be
Blue Genie coffee mug.
Eh,
Ya Allah, the Jinn Mojood.
Disney.
Uh, well, I am not. I have been knocking down Nespressos all morning. Mm.
I can't
Um,
blame you, man.
Nice hot double espressos from a new Nespresso machine because I need them faster than boiling up these things or using my percolatore, my Italian one or my Presson. So, oof, I'm knocking these bad boys down. Because one, I am trying to readjust back to East Coast time from the very relaxed, easy Central European time when I was in France and on other parts of the European continent, where the world moves a lot slower than it does here. But wartime, so let's get to it. And if Jacob comes up, just let me know in the chat there if Jacob, you see Jacob popping up, because he probably has speeches. He gives a lot of speeches in Denmark. And being Denmark's about this big, it's itty bitty. He's like the only expert in the country. So you gotta give him a break. Brother's busy, right? Speaking, or Yorga, whatever it is that they do. Somebody says, I got to be careful of my caffeine intake. I got no way. I need that coffee. So, Wajeeh, let's take a look at oil prices.
You
Yesterday,
got it.
there was a 10% jump in oil. Oil jumped up like $5 a barrel, and it was at over 100 at 101. Then by the end of the day, this is where people say, somebody says Jacob has house gas. Oil had retreated back 3%, and right now it is at 97. Brent North Sea crude's at 97.40. WTI crude is at 89.43. And Murban is about the exact same as Brent at 97.40. But you see, they had big drops yesterday afternoon. WTI down $2.82. Brent North Sea crude had dropped out. What is that, Mars? Go down a little. Um, no, other way to back to the top. There you go. Brent dropped $3.27, it looks like, at the end of trading. And that is every global expert that I'm reading about right now. So Keith Amaro says drops were from profit taking. Very true. But I was watching Mr. Global yesterday and a couple of other analysts, and they are saying there is a weird psychology happening amongst traders. They think things are so bad that they are believing they're good, and that they
How?
just don't care. They don't care that they think this will all be over and done with by August. I remember them saying that back a couple of months ago. So yeah, there's craziness going on. So yeah, Mr. Global scaring me too, Mike. Mike Matson says Mr. Global scaring me. Yesterday, he had a video called Checkmate about how the whole system's going to go dry. And I was like, oh, sucky now. There it is. There it is. I'm not a global trading expert. I am a geopolitical intelligence expert, right? I see how the war fighting and the political decision making affects that trade. That guy's in the trade. Okay. And he's knucking butts. He says, somebody says it's happening because China is not been buying oil. Well, that's very true. But yeah, Mr. Global's concerned. He isn't concerned. That guy's like panicked. He's coming to his bitter end. Okay, that being said, let's go on to significant acts. The United States and Iran, for the 13th day in a row, are trading blows again. It's happening so alarming on the scandal over the medical university testing in India, or that 4 people were killed by settlers in the West Bank, and all sort of seemingly innocuous, mundane stories. And then they go, oh yeah, the United States is bombarding Iran. We are at the point where war fighting is now normal. So the United States carries out another series of attacks, but some of them I'm going to call attention to, because I made what we call a swag, right? A SIGINT-based wild ass guess, or a strategic wild ass guess in this particular instance, that there is something going on with U.S. forces out there. And I know I predicted this before, but we're starting to see the indicators that the White House is, in fact, shaping the battlefield around the Strait of Hormuz. And the only thing left for that shaping to do is to land troops. And I will talk about that in a minute. I will show you some of the places where the fighting went. The United States struck a Artesh. The Artesh is the Iranian regular army. right? Joe blows, not the IRGC. They went to the Ahvaz region of Iran, which is along southwest of Tehran, between the mountains and the mountains in the Iraqi border, and they used a B-1B Lancer bomber to drop multiple bombs, a minimum of 35 2,000-pound laser-guided bombs on a weapons storage depot that had been left alone for since the beginning of this war. And you guys remember at the beginning of this war, it appeared that they were trying to drive a wedge between the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, and the Artesh, and leave the Artesh untouched so that they could take over or overthrow the government and would have weapons, ammunition, and equipment to do that. Well, those days are over. Apparently, in a hunt to drop bombs on something to make pretty explosions, they are now bombing Artesh warehouses and weapons storage dumps that were left alone for, let me check, 146 days. I mean, this is stuff that would have been blown up at the beginning.
Yep.
So I don't understand what the strategy is here, but apparently they are now going after Artesh materials. And I find that strange because they talk like the Artesh is not defending its country. The Iranian army has been launching drones, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles at Gulf states as well. So again, there is this bizarre assumption that the Artesh are different people. The Iranian army are different people from the Rev Guard, and they're right, but only in the matter of intensity. They're still loyal to their country and their families, and they are fighting. So the Ahvaz region was hit. Then they struck around Isfahan, one facility in a place called Nain. Then Khorramabad and Loristan, we don't know what was hit there, but explosions were detected there. And then the usual suspects. I will get to that in a minute. There is a place called Piran Shah up near Azerbaijan. I'm going to bring that up to you to see on Google Earth here. And I found this one very interesting. Google Earth is not cooperating. But the reason that it was interesting is
What is it
it
called?
Piran Shah. I have a chart for it. I just need Google Earth to stop spinning. Piramshah. Here's Piram Shah. And this is in the Azeri region, way in the northeast part of Iran. In the Azeri region, and as you know, the Azeris, which is up here. I'll bring that down so that you can see it. If you can see that red dot right here, that's
Mm-hmm.
Piram Shah. This white line here is the border between Azerbaijan and Iran. And there has been a lot of reporting that the Israelis are assisting Azerbaijan in destabilizing Iran. Piram Shah is one of the bigger cities that is made up of ethnic Azeris. And as you can see here, that blue, that's the Caspian Sea. I will zoom out so that you can see it in relation to the entire region, right? So this is occurring way up here in the northwest side of Iran. The United States carried out bombings of IRGC barracks and facilities in that part of the country, right? The place that they struck was a regular army Artesh, not IRGC, but the regular army's barracks. And this leads me to believe that, one, they are trying to deny the regular army facilities. But also, remember yesterday I said some of our attacks, they're shaping attacks, which means that they're used to mold the battlefield in the way that you want it. But if you're trying to remove the regular Iranian army's facilities off the face of the earth up there, then why? Who do you expect to come waltzing through there that you would need that done? It's quite possible. It's also, by the way, in the tri-border region of Kurdistan, Azerbaijan, and Turkey, right? Over here. So it's possible that that town is being shaped for future operations by Iranian Kurdish militias. All right. Somebody says, stabilize my camera. Is my camera bouncing? Okay. Possible my legs hitting it. So that being said, which is now my favorite phrase on this show, something is going on up there in the north that the United States would dedicate resources to bombing that area. Just pay attention to that, stick a pin in it, right? Now, the Turks will not like if we're bombing up there to let the Iranian Kurds have operations, but it's
Oh,
quite possible that this was in support of future Israeli operations. Somebody says they've made it a drinking game for me to say my little repeated phrases. Y'all gonna be drunk by the end of the day if that's a drinking game. That being said, drink. So now let's go back down to the Strait of Hormuz, where most of the action was going on. I don't even have to tell you where they bombed. You guys could tell me where they bombed because they're bombing the same damn places every day with a couple of more interesting spots. They bombed here in the Indian Ocean. Let me bring this down so that you can all see it without my head being in the way. Bandar-e-Jask, right? In the Indian Ocean, big IRGC base. There may, in fact, be an underground base there as well. Further up, Sirik Underground Tunnel Complex, right, of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy. Bandar Abbas, I'll bring this down and zoom it in. Bandar Abbas, city of 700,000 people right there. They are bombing everything, police stations, phone booths, whatever. If it looks like infrastructure, the Americans are bombing it. And then Kishem Island right here, the shark-shaped island, but some new additions on this island is required for our attention. Yesterday, they bombed 3 points on these islands that made me go, okay. This place to the south here is a small village called Masan. Okay. Masan has an IRGC and a fishing port in it. I'll show you right now. You can see the actual piers if we look at it on satellite. Right here, this is the village of Masan. What you are looking at is a protected harbor for high-speed boats, and the boats, of course, park here, and they go into they have fish and kebabs for lunch every day, right? Now, Kishem Island is littered with these little harbors. Here's another one that supports Masan. This is actually a small village. You can see it here in the satellite imagery, that it has a very protected harbor, but very few structures. So this most likely supported the IRGC and fishing boats. Some of these are IRGC vessels right there. These vessels, whenever this image was taken on September 21st, 2023. It's a couple of years old, but these were IRGC high-speed boats. There are some other IRGC vessels here. If they are light gray, they are Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. You can see them here. If they are light blue or white, they are most likely civilian vessels. But the United States has been hitting all these tiny harbors hard in order to deny these small boats an opportunity to get to sea. And they have also been sinking every small boat there. Fishing boat, they don't care. For example, these are fishing boats. You can actually see them in the satellite image here. And they just tie them up. And I don't know if you guys have ever been out to these Middle East ports. You know, you sit there and you think, hey, how do they get to their boat? There's water here. There's no pier. I've seen it. They get there one of two ways. They pull the boat in, right, back to the harbor, and they walk over to the seawall and they walk over. Most of the time, they just jump in the water and they swim over to that boat. They get inside, right, brup, brup, and off they go fishing. These are fishing vessels. But this was the village the United States struck pretty hard yesterday, Masan. Next up the coast of Kishem Island was the next village they struck pretty hard, which is right here, okay, called Sousa Beach. You can see there are south of Sousa, there is another jetty which can handle small boats, but as you go up to the village itself, it's got a big sandy beach. You can launch boats off of that. Here's the car park. And hold on. And here is the port, the harbor facilities. Just like you saw further in the south, these seawalls are designed to keep the waters calm so that you can launch in high waters. And as you see, there's a lot of vessels on the shore. They're just out of water when they're not there. And if you look at I'm giving you a satellite imagery class today. If you look at the discoloration here along the beach, that is the high tide mark. This image was taken at low tide, and those boats just sit down on the dirt there. So interesting, but you see here has several piers. These vessels are you can just tell by the size of the vessels that these are 1 and 2 man fishing boats with a single motor on the back. These are not IRGC vessels, but the IRGC operates all over that island. Next, the United States struck last night Larak Island for the first time of this war, as far as I can tell. But if you look at this geographically, there's this little arc going on here of bases that we hit. And that is literally shaping the battlefield. Because why would we need to hit the southern side of Kishem Island systematically, village by village? You know what? If you're going to be an IRGC visual observer, all you got to do is sit on top of a minaret at a mosque or on top of a house in a lawn chair with a pair of binoculars, right? Also, you want to damage the boats in the harbor and anything. But these beaches, I just want to call attention to something. This is a long, soft, sandy beach with protected harbors going as far as the eye can see, right? As a matter of fact, I don't even know what that harbor is. What's the name there? Anyway, if I were a betting man and I wanted to, I don't know, invade Kishem Island, some of the places that we studied back in the 1980s, was that you can't take one island. You got to take 8. 8. One of which is a major one, Kishem Island, this one. That has 54 villages on it. Copy? So, as you see here, we have this arc of combat going around. And it was designed, as U.S. Central Command said yesterday, and I will quote them, to limit maritime capability of the Iranians in the Strait of Hormuz. So you can keep bombing around there, the little visual posts, guys who put up radars, sink the little boats. But so long as there's a coast, there's going to be a way for them to get out there. So I just wanted to point this out to you. I predicted that based on things General Kellogg, who is one of Trump's advisors, was saying. He has been on Fox News all week demanding an amphibious landing on Larak Island. Now, why would Larak come out of nowhere? Well, if you look at the multi-pass traffic separation scheme, you got to go by Larak Island going in or out. You also got to go by Kishem Island. This is the western side of Kishem Island. Okay? So I don't know what's going on, but it looks like something's going on. But to me, it's amphibious planners are planning on doing something in Kishem or Larak Island. Larak Island, by the way, has an oil refinery on it, has an oil distribution port on it on the north side. The 85%, 90% of that island is an environmental preserve. Kishem Island, how long is Kishem Island? That is an excellent question. Let's do the math, shall we? Let's do it in miles as opposed to kilometers. The distance of Kishem Island, you ready for this? 65 miles long.
Wow.
Okay, that is a fight we don't even have the troops for. We don't, unless you're going to go around stealing people's motorboats or stealing their cars. The maximum width of Kishem Island is 21 miles. So 65 by 21 miles. No. And of course, people can say, oh, well, the Iranians don't have all those forces there. They would have to get over there by small boats and things like that. Yeah, they could do that. So somebody says I sound like Samuel L. Jackson. That's right. I am the Samuel L. Jackson of dealing with stupid motherfuckers. Okay.
Well,
So
this is what Trump has to say.
Mm.
These are horrible people, vicious, horrible people. I offered them joint venture beginning of the war. They said no. Now it's my sole venture. All easy pass is Baba Trump easy pass. If you want to pass the Strait of Hormuz, it is now through the Strait of Trump, and we make the money. If we don't do it, Iran doesn't get to do it.
Yep. Somebody says I can't stand them motherfucking snakes on the motherfucking plane. So yeah, that's true. Okay. So the United States said they attacked drone bases, command and control sites, coastal and maritime sites, boats, and other sundry items, radars, sensors, ballistic missiles, the whole 9 yards. All right. Now, that was just the American side of the game. The Iranians, not wasting any time, immediately counterattacked the following countries with ballistic missiles and drones. Kuwait, they struck Aliyah Selam Air Base again. And interestingly, we talked about how the Americans struck a border crossing in southern Iraq, right? Called the Salamcha border crossing. The Salamcha border crossing, by the way, made famous in the movie Three Kings. That's where they took George Clooney and those guys took the dead service member's body for pilgrimage back to Iran. So very interesting. That is also the principal border crossing for pilgrims going from Iran to Iraq to Najaf and Karbala. So the Iranians weren't particularly happy with that. So what they did was they carried out a strike of their own. Let's see if we can bring up the video. They attacked the Abdali border crossing between Iraq and Kuwait on the northernmost side of Kuwait. Now, why does this seem to tickle me pink? I've been across that damn border crossing maybe 2-3 dozen times back there. As a matter of fact, I can show you the very buildings. I know all the buildings there because there's one big CO's office building. There is a small barracks for the watch shift. And then there's a storage facility, a radio relay tower, and the generators. The Iranians struck the generator fuel tanks next to the CO's building and the admin building, which isn't very big at all. But here's the video of that base on fire. And there's some close-up video. There you go. I've been in this building. I'll tell you why. It's a funny story. Okay. This right here, this watch building with the air conditioners, okay, this is the main watch building. This building in the back is the CO's office. How do you know that, Malcolm? Because this, oh, a little further on, I'll show you in the video. These structures are where they search your vehicles. And I did not know at the time that Kuwait was a dry country when I was leaving Iraq to go on a trip down to Kuwait City. So I bought a shitload of alcohol. And the
Oh,
officer
no.
there goes, "Listen, my friend." He says, "I did not. Do you have more alcohol?" And I said, "Yeah, I didn't lie." I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "There is no alcohol allowed in Kuwait." And I should have known that. But the last time this is my first crossover from Iraq to Kuwait. The last time I did that, I had invaded the country with, 300,000 other people. So nobody was saying anything. So I sat here in this little border thing. He says, come with me, my friend, right? Because I'm American. So we go into the admin building and he says, "Normally, I would keep this for me and my friends, but the sergeant, he saw it. So if you have any other, just give it to me." I gave him the alcohol and halas, goodbye, my friend. I was out the door. That's all he wanted. He put that shit right in his desk drawer. He goes, "Halas, no jail for you." You go straight there. So I know the Abdali border crossing. And then I used to shuttle back and forth from Kuwait City to Basra. And I would always wave to that guy. And he was just like, he became my bud. He was like, and he knew a Kuwaiti Navy captain that I served with in Desert Storm. So he was just like, "If you bring something for me, hadiah, bring me hadiah." So I started bringing him down. I started bringing him down bottles of arak from Kuwait, from Lebanon. We used to get Lebanese arak there. So
Uh,
I
you know,
went
I
from
don't
being
need out of
Malcolm the smuggler to Malcolm the service guy. That was my entry ticket. Halas, I must talk to the Ra'id, right? I talked to the major, and the major would come out. He'd go, "My friend, kiss, kiss, kiss," arak bottle in his pocket. So this site was hit. You can see in the video that they struck the control tower, not the control tower, the microwave tower's oil generators, fuel tanks, just to make a point. I find it funny that they hit the fuel tanks in order so that the place not only would lose power, but it makes big, nice burning smoke. The Iranians are smart. Gin runner. I wasn't running gin, I was running arak. Those
like,
blue Lebanese. I don't know which brand of arak it is, Abdali or something like that. But
I
blue
had the
Lebanese.
blue one before. It's
Yeah.
that's a high end.
So yeah, well, I knew that was my ticket into Kuwait anytime now. That was the way it's the way it works, y'all. It's the way it works. So,
Although you could also get around with Johnny Walker if you can't find some
uh,
out of Johnny Walker.
Johnny Walker Red, Johnny Walker Black are like the universal passport, mainly in Central Africa. Now, some of those guys have got sexy taste. They want Glenlivet, but everybody understands Johnny Walker. Okay. But some of these guys are like, "You bring me Glenfiddich." And it's like, "What? No, fuck you. No, I'm bringing Glenfiddich." I said, "I'm not bringing anybody scotch until I go on a Scottish whiskey tour and I know what's good and what's not." Okay, Iran struck Kuwait. They struck Bahrain once again, Commander 5th Fleet Headquarters and the
No?
Sheikh Issa Air Base. We have no battle damage assessment. They hit Jordan. What base do you think they hit in Jordan? Muafiq al-Salti again. They are going for those barracks. They are trying to get more bodies there. And finally, Iraq. This is interesting. I didn't get a chance to show this yesterday, but
There's also Al Azraq
what?
base.
Oh,
Al Azraq.
Muafiq al-Salti. Muafiq al-Salti.
And is it both the
Oh,
same one?
yes, that's the same. Yeah, Azraq is a nickname.
Eh?
But Muafiq al-Salti. And I wanted to show this to you. Uh, I've typed Peshawar. Pesh. That's funny. Peshmerga base. The Iranians are now attacking the anti-Iranian Kurdish militias. Yesterday, they attacked the U.S. base in Erbil with a massive drone attack. The day before, we didn't get a chance to show this. They attacked a Peshmerga base. Peshmerga is the colloquial name for Kurds, Kurdish anti militia. Here it is. This is near Suleimania. This was a base where the Iranians believed that anti Iranian government soldiers were being trained by the United States and the Peshmerga in this camp, and they blasted this place. What you're seeing is no fire, grass fires after the base was destroyed. So they really hit that base hard. Here's some images. That red box is a building, unblasted, blasted, unblasted, blasted, and started fires everywhere. So the Iranians are quite aware of what we are doing. This is another area. These are structures here. These scorch marks around the structures mean the explosions created grass fires, right? And most likely damaged many of those buildings. But the Iranians have excellent intelligence too, human intelligence too. They have spies in those Kurdish groups. And if they find out that the CIA or the Israelis or somebody is training them, well, what you get is this: shitloads of drones blasting your bases. Just a word to the wise. And to make it even more interesting, yesterday they attacked the U.S. base in Erbil with drones. Here's some video of that attack. You see, it helps if I spell it right. The U.S. base in Erbil.
ERBI.
Yep, Erbil. Hey, trust me, I've been there. It's actually not in Erbil. It's in the suburb onto the north of called a Christian village called Ain Kawa. And okay, full disclosure, I'm so old. I went to that base and there was a dirt runway and a board that was up against just a board, nothing else, right? And a board that said, like forward operating base, blah, blah, blah. And then underneath it, it said toilet. The board was the toilet. So that base, C-130s go peeling in there and they would run over behind the board and take a piss. That's all that was there. Now there is a modern international airport there and a Rotana hotel. So you know it's sophisticated now. This is the U.S. base getting hit yesterday by multiple drones. The Gatling gun system that they have up there to shoot them down did not get into effect. You can see multiple hits around the city, around the vicinity of the U.S. base. The Iranians, they're not letting us get away with it. And don't forget, that's where we lost that one service member who who inspected a shot down drone and unexploded ordnance. So,
But their life didn't matter because they didn't die on the battlefield, Malcolm. You see,
yeah.
we don't count soldier lives anymore.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's Iraq. They said that they hit the U.S. base in Erbil with 7 drones. All right. We have video of at least 3 hits. Okay. Strait of Hormuz. Trump now says he will charge Iran a fee for every ship that is attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. The United States will take money from the Iranian frozen funds and compensate anyone that was damaged up there. So now Trump is now managing their money. Somebody, Keith Amaral, you are late. That's the first thing we talked about was the change in the death count. So this is really strange because now Trump is trying to pressure the Iranians with their own money that they're not getting. So look, They're making that much money just on interest income from their oil. So, and what they're going to make in fees and twist out of the United States, we're the ones who are hemorrhaging $100 billion. They aren't. They're making money. They're saying he'll pocket the money himself. Next, Iraq. Again, the prime minister of Iraq went after meeting with Donald Trump, flew to Tehran, and delivered a message from Donald Trump to the Iranians, essentially asking them to come back to the negotiating table. Shoo ismuhu.
I'm sorry.
Shakumaku. All right?
You can't shut up. You can't.
Shakumaku. Right? That's Iraqi dialect Arabic for what the fuck's going on or what's going on. Shu'aku ma'aku. And by the way, that's for the people who say I don't speak Arabic. Shu'aku ma'aku. Shakumaku. What's going on? Makushe. Mafakushe. So this is us saying what's going on? Something's going on. Nothing's going on. So the prime minister of Iraq went to Iran and bought a message from Donald Trump. I'm sure he held it up like this to him. Please, sir, with tears in my eyes, please take this message from Donald Trump. Now, I find this funny because that guy is one suicide bomb from not being president of Iraq. And let me tell you something personally. I was behind in a motorcade. I was about 2 blocks away behind the first president of Iraq after we liberated that country. And he was a Yahoo George W. Bush guy. They blew his ass up right in front of me. So, as Amy Summers says, dead man walking. You trend this line too close to the United States, there are people and militias in Iraq that can make sure that you do not survive this encounter. So he goes to Iran. Iran immediately rejects it out of hand and says, we do not accept messages from Donald Trump, and we do not accept his proposal, which they say they don't know what was in the proposal, but it essentially was, please surrender, with tears in my eyes. Next.
Wave the white flag. I beat you so many times. You gotta wave the white flag.
You lost. Let's go down to the southern side of the Arabian Peninsula, shall we? Down to the Bab el-Mandab waterway. Strait of Hormuz, Bab el-Mandab. Strait of Hormuz, Bab el-Mandab. Okay, and not Hormuz, as somebody printed a little earlier. Yes, the cycle of stupidity. We're stepping up the ladder stupidity. The Yemeni Ansarullah, right? The supporters of God, right? Terrorist group are still enforcing a blockade of the Bab el-Mandab waterway, unless apparently the multipass works on both straits. So if you have your IRGC multipass, you can get through the Strait of Hormuz. Wajeeh, you took the thunder away from me. I was bringing that picture up. Wajeeh is showing us a photograph now of how long it takes you to get to Asia now that the Bab el-Mandab waterway is done. You have to go north up the Red Sea to this port near Suez in Egypt. You have to offload 50% of your oil. It goes through an Egyptian pipeline. As a matter of fact, I have a photograph of that Egyptian pipeline right here. If you give me a second. There it is. The Egyptian pipeline, the Suez Mediterranean pipeline. Then you have to go all the way up to back to the Mediterranean coast because the Suez Canal is so shallow. Your super tanker, what they call a Suez Max, cannot go through with a full load of oil. You got to pump it up there, go up the Suez Canal, go to Sidi Karir, next to Alexandria, unload it again, and then you can continue on to the Mediterranean. Or, Wajeeh, show us that chart from Port Suez in the north, right there north of the Suez Canal, and then you got to go across the Mediterranean, through the Straits of Gibraltar, down West Africa, down to the Cape of Good Hope. Then and only then can you cross the southern Indian Ocean to the Straits of Malacca, which charges a fee, and then on to Asia. That trip usually took 19 days. That trip now takes how many days, Watch?
48 days.
48 days. Did I mention you
Almost
got
an
to buy
additional
diesel
30 days.
fuel at like 10 times its original cost?
Yep.
Holy shit. The price for moving bulk oil is now astronomical because the Bab el Mandab waterway, if you don't have a multipass, you cannot get through either the Strait of Hormuz or the Barber Menjel waterway, as I like to call it, the Bab el Mandab waterway. So a lot of people are literally over a barrel, and the oil situation becomes perilous any more days. However, 2 Chinese ships did pass the Bab el Mandab because they had multipass. So next, on 2 outlying things, and then we'll go to questions. I actually have a 10 o'clock podcast I have to take. Israel. For those of you who think, wow, Malcolm is going to talk about Israel and Lebanon again. No, I'm not. I'm going to talk about something that is getting out of hand. Interior Minister Ben Gvir, a series of members of the Knesset, who are the Israeli parliament on the extremist right side, stormed with Israeli army and police protection the Dome of the Rock in the Al-Aqsa Mosque yesterday and walked through it with 3,500. Wait, let me get that number right. No, 3,200 settlers who want to seize control of the West Bank. And they said that they are there to pray on the Temple Mount because you're not allowed to pray on the Temple Mount. I have been to the Dome of the Rock, which is in fact a mosque, but the actual mosque is off to the side. It is a lower one down a sloping ramp. That is the actual Al-Aqsa Mosque. The reason it's called the Temple Mount is that the second temple of Israel, right, I believe is David's, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, was there before it was torn down, and the only remaining part of that temple is the Wailing Wall, the Western Wall. In the period of Islam, they built the Al-Aqsa Mosque and Dome of the Rock on there. Let me hit them with a picture of Dome of the Rock so they know what we're talking about. That is the blue and gold domed building.
Qubbat al-Sakhra.
Qubbat al-Sakhra. Yeah, here's Dome of the Rock. This right now is off limits for prayer. You cannot pray in there. It is only open for tourists. When I was there a year ago, or a year and a half ago, during the post October 6th, it was nothing but guns up there, baby. They weren't letting nobody inside that place. But I have been inside it a few times when in nicer times. This is not the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Wajeeh,
Nope.
what is the significance of that building?
The significance of the Qubbat al-Sakhra is that this was the first Qibla. Qibla is the way you direct your prayer toward a holy mosque. So the first holy mosque for Islam before Mecca was Qubbat al-Sakhra, or was Al-Aqsa in general.
Mhm.
When Prophet Muhammad was taken to paradise to meet Allah, where he was ordered uh, uh, to apply the 5 prayers a day and and he met with the other prophets. Um, he was ridden by a horse that
Horse,
had wings.
Pegasus.
Um, Pegasus, yes, that came all the way to here,
And I know
to
where he
this.
got that story from. He went through Jaffa. Okay, because the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, spent a lot of time going between Israel, what is now Israel, and Palestine, and the western part. So he definitely heard about the Rock of Andromeda in Jaffa and Perseus coming down on Pegasus and rescuing Andromeda. And so he took a ride too.
So Prophet Muhammad came here and he led a prayer with all the previous prophets of God, and then he took another trip from this stone all the way to the seventh heaven to meet Allah. And that he had an interesting story, but this
Call it
is the significant. Go
They
for
call
it.
it the midnight ride of the prophet or the night ride of the prophet.
Al-Isra
This
wal-Mi'raj. Nah.
this and the Al-Aqsa Mosque is the third holiest site in Islam. Mecca, Medina, this
You just mentioned, though, it does have some significance to the Jewish community. I did not know
was
that.
the Temple of David. That whole
No,
site. Yeah, it was.
I did not know that.
The Western Wall that they pray in front of. Here, I'm going to show you a photograph of it. Let me see if I can find it in my photo album. But the Western Wall is the last remaining component of 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 that
Temple.
temple, the second temple of
So
Israel, Western Wall, Jerusalem. Okay, bump, bump, bump. I'm not going to show you my photos because who wants to see mine when I can show you professional photos? There it is. Bonk. Come on, y'all. That's what happens when they use clip art. Uh, this is the scene, by the way. This photograph here, you can see it here.
that's the Wailing Wall.
That's the Wailing Wall. This wall is called, it's the Western Wall because it was the last remaining component of the temple, I believe the second temple of Israel. Somebody, Ru Ryazuki knows, okay? For a black guy, that guy really knows his Jewish history. By the way, let me see. I came through here. This is where you come through the main security checkpoints here now. Back in the oldie days, this was just wide open. You can just walk through. This is the men's section. This is the women's section over here. Now there are security barriers back here, and they let you through either that one gate or the 6 or 7 major gates back here. It's armed to the teeth. This photograph is being taken from above where the security barriers are. I usually am back over here, take my pictures back in the Jewish quarter near the near where I was staying. I was at the Sephardic Hotel. But so I'm going to show it to you in relation to Dome of the Rock because that's important because they're right on top of each other. The what's on the other side of that wall? The Al-Aqsa Mosque. What's
Yep.
above it? Dome of the Rock. And this is where things get touchy. Okay, this is a great image here. Having a hard time getting that. Uh, I'm taking this time to show you guys what this imagery looks like because it is exceptionally significant. This photograph, I know where this photograph was taken right there, exactly where it was taken up in the Jewish quarter, because it's a small runway between two buildings, and they do all these wedding photos from there. And last time I took my picture from there, but you can see Dome of the Rock, the Western Wall, security access gates leading up to the Temple Mount, and other side is Al-Aqsa Mosque. Bringing 3,200 Jewish settlers up there, contravening the law, is adventurous. Let's just say
That's a good way of putting it.
what they did was the Israelis closed. They closed the mosque at force of arms and then allowed the Israeli settlers, led by Ben Gavir, to take that over. Interesting, to say the least. Okay, one
Election
last
stunt?
thing. Yeah, go ahead, Watch.
This just sounds like an election stunt for his far right group.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was, and their stunt, uh, their stunt, let's see how it pays off. They were mobilizing these people up there to really, 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 really attack. Or let me rephrase that. Sorry, not attack. Motivating them to go back to their settlements on the West Bank. But there is a movement there to seize that entire thing. And boy, you want to see trouble with the Muslim world? Oh, jeez. Okay. This photograph of burned out wreckage of Russian equipment was taken by the Jamaat al-Nusra Islamic Maghreb, Maghreb Islami, whatever. It is ISIS slash Al-Qaeda of North Africa. They, as you recall, a few weeks ago, wiped out Russian forces and Malian forces in that country. But out of nowhere, somebody, just somebody in the United States government who was supposed to be paying attention to this, suddenly realized that it happened. Now, you and I weren't having a problem with it. Hold on. If any of you are watching what I just typed in the words Gorka fat. This is the U.S. coordinator for terrorism, counterterrorism, a fat Walt named Seb Gorka. This guy literally did nothing in his career. He was a reservist Hungarian translator in the British Territorial Army, did nothing, went nowhere. Okay. He's not a cryptologist. He's not a cryptological. He was just a guy that was on duty. Yes, he does need a man bra for his moves, but tiny gun, big moves. That gets you a job in the Trump administration. Oh, by the way, did I mention that he was fake PhD and also a pro-Hungarian neo-Nazi? Okay? This guy is in charge of U.S. terrorism policy, not professional kick-ass motherfucker Joe Kent, okay, who literally fought his way around the entire Muslim world against terrorists. No, this fat-ass motherfucker up here. By the way, his car license plate is Art O War. Oh, jeez.
What?
That's his freaking gun. Look at his cute little gun. Yeah, somebody says AFMYK. Are you fucking kidding me? I am not kidding you. Well, Mr. Seb Gorka, also friend of Russia, wants the United States to intervene militarily in Mali to assist the government of Mali that kicked us out and replaced us with the Russian mercenary group PMC Wagner. So, I guess if you go to Mali and you start another war, you get to end it and say you ended another war. Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah.
That's enough for one day, people. That's enough for one day. So yeah, Mr. Man Moves. All right. What did they say on Seinfeld? What was the name of the bra, right? That Manzier, right? The Manzier. Is that what they called that bra that guys who have moves need, the
Yeah.
Manzier or
No,
something like that? Yeah, that guy's in charge of terrorism. Okay. Now, I just want to point out to
maybe
you.
maybe Pete Hegseth need to do a mandatory testosterone check.
Yeah, okay. I just want to point out something to you. Okay, a mandatory testosterone check. Yeah, on that guy, he's got way too much testosterone. Way too much testosterone. He has all those things that people said that they had. Oh, here he is. Yeah, yeah, this guy's not in charge. Hold on for a sec. I'm just saying, this guy is not in charge. Okay? Guy's got 20 years past taking names of terrorists all over the place. Went and became a CIA officer, then ran the National Counterterrorism Center, then got ethics and quit. Nope, he's not in charge. Mr. Manboobs is. So there you go. We're probably going to invade Mali here soon to help PMC Wagner, a Russian mercenary group. Yeah, I know you guys have mixed feelings about Joe Kent. I never agreed with Joe Kent about anything except his position in counterterrorism. So now we suddenly all find ourselves together on the same side of the same coin. But he don't wear a man's ear. Okay, just saying, peoples. Okay, that's enough for one day. Let's answer a couple of questions. I actually have a podcast I'm supposed to be doing on Ukraine. With Jonathan Fink. If you guys don't know him, he's there. Why Mali? Why not? I guess to start
Way
the count.
easier than Iran. It would be a victory for Trump compared to Iran.
Oh, don't think that. Don't think that we're suddenly U.S.
That's
air
why he's
power is
thinking,
going
not me. That's why he's thinking. I'm just talking what he's thinking.
to.
Because
Don't.
he's like, oh, I could take care of Cuba. Oh, I could take care of Mali, but oh yeah, let's get the fuck out of Iran for now.
Yeah, let's just do that because that's exactly what's going to happen. Total victory is going to happen if we go to Mali. Okay, let me close that down. All right, let me go to questions. I'm going to answer a couple of your questions. For those of you who haven't noticed, I have been answering questions on the Substack app. Whoop, sorry, on Substack, and I have been answering them since 6 this morning. Yesterday's questions and today's questions. Okay, now I gotta wait for an email to come in here. I was signed out of Substack for some strange reason, and I can't get to. Oh, here it is. Oh, here we are. Let's go to the chat and go over a couple of questions. Yesterday there were 110 questions. I answered a bunch of them. Malcolm, I heard that Smitrich said something about not fighting in Iran anymore. Is this true? That is the interior minister of Israel, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Because when it comes to the Israelis, the philosophy is very simple. They look out for number one, nobody
Mm.
else, right? So if it's in their interest, they will do it. It says questions. How many casualties of all human beings, the Gulf states, Lebanon, Israel, U.S., including Iran so far in Trump and Bibi's war for whatever? Right now, I think that estimate's about 7,000 dead, 6,000 dead in Iran, 6,500 dead in Iran. I know we did 55 just in the last day of Iranians, plus an estimated 500 on all other sides.
So I
Somebody
have a
said the Western
number for
Wall.
each.
1 second, real quick. The Western Wall is the chief remaining fixture of the second of King Herod's temple. Herod's temple, not David's or Solomon. My mistake. You know what? Herod is the one guy I just put out of my mind. I literally am writing a giant fiction story for the last 10 years that involves, the time of Jesus. And King Herod's just one of those guys, if you don't think about him, because Judea was a province of Rome. And in fact, Herod was the king of the Jews, according to Rome, but he technically acted as a governor, and whereas the prefect of the entire province was Pontius Pilate. Interesting enough. So King Herod's interesting. Ba 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 ba. Somebody said Gorka has a medical condition called gynecomastia or something. So he could be suffering from it. But testosterone's a good guess too. It gives you pimples, man boobs, and all sorts of other things. So that may be it.
So
Listen, guys, watch. What's your
I
thought?
have done the math. 8,087 people have been killed so far in this war.
Wallah. Astaghfirullah. Okay. Listen, I have another podcast I have to go to. I am going to be answering your question. There's only 40 thus far on the chat. You can ask questions all day. I am going to please read through them so you can see that you don't repeat them. If you are watching this on YouTube, then you have already missed an awesome live show. Come to Substack at malcolmnance.substack.com. Join for free. And you can get the lowdown every morning from intelligence and geopolitical professionals like Wajeeh. And when I'm wrong, I'll tell you that I'm wrong. King Herod's wall, not the wall of Solomon or David. So, that being said, thank you all for coming here today. I will see you tomorrow, Wajeeh. Hopefully, Jacob can make it.
See you
There.
tomorrow.
Okay. Take
Thank
care,
you, Chief.
everybody. I'll let you know if anything weird happens. All right. Bye bye.